Greg and Kathy, the entire LeMond family and friends, congratulations and welcome to your United States Capitol. Mr. Speaker, colleagues, and distinguished guests, thank you for being here today to honor an American and worldwide cycling legend. Thank you to everyone who worked so hard to make this happen. My friend, Tom Graves, thank you. You're spot on. We are friends. We did cycle every morning in the gym, and you were an incredible ally in making sure that this happened. Earl Blumenauer, Senators Johnny Isakson, Kirsten Sinema, Lamar Alexander, all worked really hard to make this happen. And Crozer Connor from my staff, it was his first bill he ever worked on, and I'm glad he made it. And thanks to all the staff on both the House and the Senate for all the great work they did. And I have to give a special shout out to Daniel DeVaise, whose biography inspired me to pursue this recognition, and to Shane Cooper, who was the link between Greg and myself. We all know Greg is a three-time Tour de France winner, an American icon, and the greatest cyclist of the 21st century. But that's only part of his story. For Greg, cycling began as a means to an end. At 13, he was an avid skier. His ski coach wanted him to cycle in the off-season to stay in shape. But once he got on two wheels, he had a new passion. After just 1 year of training, Greg placed second in his first ever club ride. He rode in a tank top, jogging shorts, and tennis shoes. He didn't have the right gear nor the right bike, but it didn't matter. His rocket ship rise to success had begun. He soon entered his first amateur race, and you know what happened? He won. Greg went on to become the first American man to win the Tour de France. And it's probably important to point out that the first woman to win the Tour de France is here in your honor to celebrate Marianne Martin, who's in the back. Greg was the youngest American ever selected for the U.S. Olympic team, the first American man in history to win a majoring cycling tournament in Europe. Winner of 22 races, as you've heard, including the World Road Race Championship twice and the Coors Classic. And had it not been for the boycott of the 1980 Olympics, most certainly he would be an Olympic gold medalist. These achievements alone place Greg firmly amongst the greatest American athletes, but they don't tell the full story. When Greg returned to cycling to build endurance for ski season, he had no idea that endurance would come to help define his legacy. Greg's talent upended the cycling world, and when he mounted his bike to race for the yellow jersey in the 1986 Tour de France, every competitor, every spectator, and even some of his own teammates rooted against him. Against all odds, he endured, and he won. The following year, as you heard, while hunting, he was accidentally shot. He lost 70% of his blood volume. Doctors removed over 40 shotgun pellets from his abdomen, and he was told he'd never ride a bike again. Yet he endured. 26 months later, Greg began one of the greatest comebacks in American sports history, winning the '89 Tour de France in a time trial in the final stage by only 8 seconds. It's interesting that today in the Tour de France is a time trial day. That victory, on the heels of his gunshot wounds, an appendectomy, a broken wrist, and a fractured collarbone, remains the closest win in history of the men's Tour de France. Greg's 8-second victory in 1989 was a real preview to the kind of innovator, entrepreneur, and role model that he'd become. He was one of the first to design and race with aerodynamic handlebars and an aerodynamic helmet when he competed in the '89 Tour. It was this innovation and entrepreneurship that gave him that 8-second edge. Others laughed but Greg LeMond won. And in doing so, he set a new standard for his sport. And he didn't stop there. He's since gone on to become a successful businessman, owner of his own bicycle manufacturing company, LeMond Bikes, and a dedicated advocate to making our world a better place. He and Kathy are active in numerous community causes, helping victims of sexual abuse, supporting research into various childhood illnesses. Greg's work to promote clean and healthy sporting habits and to encourage young people to live healthy, active, engaged lives. As a Vietnam combat veteran, I'm particularly impressed and appreciative of his work leading a 1,200-mile bike trek through Vietnam with both Vietnamese and American veterans. It was a powerful symbol for peace. It was a true healing moment for our countries. And all of his fame, Greg has remained one of the most humble people I have ever met. When I set out to recognize Greg with this Congressional Gold Medal, I wanted to make sure that I had his permission to do so. And the problem was he wouldn't return my calls. And it turns out that he thought he was being, in his words, pranked. And once we talked, he only reluctantly agreed to go along with it, suggesting that Major Taylor was more worthy of this award. Well, needless to say, it's been a long journey, Greg. There's no doubt that you have left an indelible impact on our country. More than any other cyclist in our history, Greg was the epitome of the breaking away culture. A young kid on a bike trying to do things no American had ever done. Greg LeMond is one of our nation's greatest athletes, a tremendous role model, and a force for good in his community. It's only fitting that we recognize him today with this honor. Thank you all. Congratulations, Greg.